Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. It is so good to be back, and I pray that you all have had a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful New Year. I know that um, some of you have been eagerly waiting for 2023 to be over, and some of you were sad that 2023 was over. But nonetheless, we are in a new year, we are in a new season, and I welcome you to what we are now calling Selah Moments on this channel. I think that title is a very, very appropriate title for what we do here. And I know that we have received many, many new subscribers recently. So if you are new, let us know that you are a new subscriber, and we want to properly welcome you to the family. Now, to get into what we want to talk about today, again, for those of you that maybe were looking forward to 2023 being over, maybe this live stream is for you. Maybe this video is for you. Maybe you have spent the entire 2023 praying and believing for something that never came. Maybe you feel that God is ignoring you. Maybe you feel that no matter how hard you pray, no matter how much faith you think you have, and you say that you have, and you know that you have, it still hasn't manifested, whatever it is that you're praying for. Maybe you're under tremendous attack. You're under tremendous oppression, and you feel as though God has abandoned you. Well, I am here to tell you that absolutely not. No, the Lord has not abandoned you. Now, I know that can be easier said than done, or easier to believe than to actually walk it out. But that is what faith is. Faith is believing and not seeing. So just because you are going through something right now, or maybe you went through something all of 2023 and it seems to not be getting any better, there's no movement, there's no improvement, I want to encourage you today. Keep pushing forward. God is not ignoring you. Now, what I want to read today is Psalm 44, which it kind of goes through that, but it breaks it down and it's a little bit deeper, and that's what I want to get into. So let's get into Psalm 44. Now, Psalm 44 was written by one of the descendants or several descendants of Korah. Psalm 44 says, "O God, we have heard it with our own ears. Our ancestors have told us of all you did in their day. In days long ago, you drove out the pagan nations by your power and gave all the land to our ancestors. You crushed their enemies and set our ancestors free. They did not conquer the land with their swords. It was not their own strong arm that gave them victory. It was your right hand and strong arm and the blinding light from your face that helped them, for you loved them." Now let's pause there for a second. I love how they're saying, you crushed their enemies and set our ancestors free. They did not conquer the land with their swords. So what does that mean? That means that they did not receive their victory, their deliverance, through anything that they did. It was all God. Now, what are you right now depending on for your victory, for your deliverance? What are you depending on? Are you depending on your own works? Are you depending on yourself? Are you depending on someone else in your family? Are you depending on a friend? My friend, I am telling you, depend on the Lord and only Him, because that is where your victory will come from. Yes, He can use those different tools, He can use people, He can use different avenues, but ultimately the victory comes through Him and only through Him. So, as we said here, they could have gone to war and they could have used weapons, but the victory is because the Lord gave them the victory. It goes on to say, verse 4, you are my king and my God. You command victories for Israel. Only by your power can we push back our enemies. Only in your name can we trample our foes. You see, only through his power do we have victory. Then it goes on to say, verse 6, I do not trust in my bow. I do not count on my sword to save me. That is what we need to say. We cannot count on our circumstances. We cannot count on our environment to give us the victory. So typically, when you begin to look to those things for your victory, that's when you believe that God is ignoring you. Because maybe you are depending on yourself, even though you're praying to the Lord and you're asking him to help you. Maybe there is a certain area in your life that you're still depending on yourself. Now, verse 7, you are the one who gives us victory over our enemies. You disgrace those who hate us. O God, we give glory to you all day long and constantly praise your name. Now, you see here, the beginning of this psalm, it's all about the history and what they have seen and what happened with their ancestors and how the Lord delivered them from their enemies, and he crushed their enemies and he drove out the pagan nations. He set the captives free. That's what they're talking about. Now watch this quick turn of events. Watch how quickly it turns, because we're going from past victories, past experiences, to what they are seeing now. Now, verse 9, but now you have tossed us aside in dishonor. You no longer lead our armies to battle. You make us retreat from our enemies and allow those who hate us to plunder our land. You have butchered us like sheep and scattered us among the nations. You sold your precious people for a pittance. I think that's how you say that. Making nothing on the sale. You let our neighbors mock us. We are an object of scorn and derision to those around us. You have made us the butt of their jokes. They shake their heads at us in scorn. We can't escape the constant humiliation. Shame is written across our faces. All we hear are taunts of the mockers. All we see are our vengeful enemies. Now, how many times has that happened to you? Where you can remember all the good works of the Lord and what he has brought you from and all he has delivered you from and all of the blessings that he has given you. And yet you find yourself in this situation where you feel as though God is ignoring you or God has abandoned you. We have all been there, myself included. All this has happened, though we have not forgotten you. See, he's saying, we are still believing in you. We are still praying, same as you. You may still be praying and you're not getting the answers that you're looking for. You may not be living in sin, as it says here in the rest of verse 17. We have not violated your covenant. Our hearts have not deserted you. We have not strayed from your path. Yet you have crushed us in the jackal's desert home. You have covered us with darkness and death. If we had forgotten the name of our God or spread our hands in prayer to foreign gods, God would surely have known it, for he knows the secrets of every heart. But for your sake, we are killed every day. We are being slaughtered like sheep. Again, you may be in that situation right now where you're saying, I have faith. I believe in God. I love the Lord. I read my Bible every day. I pray every day. I try to make disciples of all nations. I try to evangelize. I'm doing all the right things. And yet it feels as though God is still ignoring me. Now, verse 23. Wake up, O Lord. Why do you sleep? Get up. Do not reject us forever. Why do you look the other way? Why do you ignore our suffering and oppression? We collapse in the dust, lying face down in the dirt. Rise up, help us, ransom us because of your unfailing love. Now, I love how they put it here, where in verse 23, they say, wake up, O Lord, why do you sleep? So they don't believe that the Lord has abandoned them, because then they would say, well, come back. They believe he's there, but they believe that he's asleep. Now, what I thought was very interesting when I read this, now I don't know if maybe some of you have noticed this before in reading this psalm, but if you've ever read this psalm, maybe you have, maybe you haven't seen this, but I thought this was very, very interesting. Now, in verse 23, it says, wake up, O Lord, why do you sleep? Get up, do not reject us forever. What does that kind of remind you of in the New Testament? It dawned on me when I read this earlier. When in the New Testament was the Lord asleep? It was Jesus on the boat. When he was with the disciples, what did they say? They told him, wake up. Do you not care that we are going to drown? Do you not care that we're going to die? Isn't that amazing? How what we talked about in the New Testament with Jesus was already talked about in the Old Testament. Now, this is the same scenario. Jesus is not asleep because he doesn't care. He's asleep because, one, he has faith and he knows that they're not going to drown. But two, he's building the disciples' faith. Will you have faith when you think the Lord is ignoring you, or when you think that God is asleep and he's not listening to you? Will you have that faith? Or will you be like the disciples and run to Jesus, shaking him, telling him to wake up? Does he not care that you are going through this? Does he not care that this storm is going to overtake you and maybe even kill you? Which one are you going to be? Are you going to be at peace and know that the Lord has your back? Know that he is listening to you. Know that he is not ignoring you. Will you be that person? Now, obviously, there's no condemnation if you were that person or you are that person where you're like, Lord, where are you? Why aren't you listening to me? Obviously, there's no condemnation because we've all done it. But let's learn from that. Let's not stay in that place constantly. Let us say, you know what? Yes, the world is falling apart, or my life is in shambles. But there's nothing I can do about it because the victory does not come from me. It doesn't come because of what I can do. It comes by what only he can do. So I want you to be encouraged and know that he is not ignoring you. Again, I understand that it's easier said than done. It's easier to say, yes, you have faith and you love God when everything is going well. So many of us can say that. Oh, we love God. Yes, he is for me. He is not against me. I am the head and not the tail. You can quote all these scriptures until you actually have to go through it. And then what are you doing? Are you still quoting those scriptures? Are you still believing those scriptures? Are you still believing in the promises of God? Or are you running under the boat and trying to shake Jesus awake and ask him, why are you sleeping? Yet, when we find there's another, now here, this is beautiful, just came to me. There's two different kinds of rest and sleep. One was what we just talked about when Jesus was asleep on the boat. And the disciples thought he didn't care. And they tried to wake him up and said, why don't you care that we're going to drown? Then there's the bad type of sleep where the disciples, where Jesus asked them to pray, to stay awake and pray. And what did they do? They fell asleep. When he needed them the most, they fell asleep. Now, again, choose which person you're going to be. Are you going to be comfortable in your walk or complacent and say, well, the Lord loves me. He understands. I don't need to read the Bible every day. I don't need to go to church. I don't need to fellowship. I believe. No, what you do, your works don't save you. Your works do not save you. But your works are just some of the fruit of your salvation. You do good. And I always get people in the comments after I say something like this. We are not saved by works. Yes, I understand. I agree with you. That is what I'm saying. Don't hear what I am not saying. Your works are because you are saved, not so that you can be saved. It's an automatic thing. When you become born again and you are saved, you automatically do good works. You don't have to try. You don't have to strive. You do it because you are saved. So we need to have that kind of faith and express that kind of faith when we are saved. We are already saved by grace. Now, don't be overwhelmed or overcome by your circumstances. Some of you maybe have started 2024 on a really, really bad foot. Maybe something horrible happened in the beginning of the year. And you are now starting to believe that, well, if this is how 2024 is going to start, I can't imagine what the rest of 2024 is going to look like. Don't have that mentality. I'm trying to encourage you. Yes, bad things will happen because we live in a fallen world. And no, the Lord does not always answer your prayer when you want him to answer your prayer. It is on his time. And his answers are usually these few answers. Yes, no, not right now. Those are the three answers. Yes, no, not right now. So you have to remember, it is not on our time. It is on his time because he's the only one that knows the beginning from the end. So I'm encouraging you that if you feel the Lord is ignoring you or you have been praying for something and it has not come to pass, wait patiently. And we talked about that in a previous video on how to wait patiently. If you have not seen that, I encourage you to go see it. Now, I also released a video not too long ago on a word that the Lord gave me for 2024. I am not the type of person that I constantly get prophetic words. The Lord usually speaks to me in dreams. I have a book next to my bed, a notebook filled with dreams that he has given me. So he doesn't necessarily give me prophetic words. I don't usually receive prophetic words, especially for like a year. However, he gave me a word for 2024. And what I find interesting is that since I have released that word, I have seen multiple people confirm that they too have received that same word. Now, these are people, they have no idea who I am. No idea. And I'm talking big ministry leaders, people that have, a lot of followers and a big platform. So they have no idea who I am. However, what they are releasing is the same thing the Lord gave me. And the word he gave me was order. If you have not seen that video, I encourage you to go and watch that video where I go into further detail of what I believe that means. Now, order doesn't necessarily mean, oh, everything is, going to be hunky-dory. No, read the Bible for yourself. When things were out of order in the nation of Israel, look to see how the Lord brought order. He has to bring order. You know why? Because he loves his people. He loves us, Jews and Gentiles, his bride. He loves us. So things must be put in order. Now, however he wants to do that, however he's going to do it, is how he's going to do it. Now, I want to encourage you, get your house in order. If you have been complacent, if you have been lukewarm in any area of your life, I encourage you to get on fire for the Lord. Get your house in order. Now, with that being said, I hope that this live stream, that this video has helped you in some way. And I am always here for you. If you want to send me an email, you absolutely can. If you want to put something in the comments, you absolutely can. And I will try my best to help you in any way possible. But I want you to know that the Lord is not ignoring you. He sees you. Remember, he is omnipresent. He is everywhere. He is omnipotent. He knows everything. So go to him. If you have been, continue to go to him. He's not ignoring you. Have faith. Don't be like the disciples on the boat that ran to Jesus and started shaking him and asking him, why is he asleep? Or asking him, why doesn't he care? He does care. Maybe he's just waiting for you to have faith. He's building your faith because you never know when something even worse will come along that you will not be able to handle if you did not have that strong foundation of faith. The Bible says that in the end times, when he comes back for his second and final time, will he find faith on earth? Will he find faith in you? Remember that. You can have faith all you want. You can say you have faith all you want when things are going well. But when things are not going so well, that is when your faith gets turned from merely words to action. How you deal with it. And again, people, especially unbelievers, if you have made it public that you are a Christian, you are a follower of Christ, unbelievers are absolutely watching you. Now, it's not to say that you should care what other people think, but in a way, you should. If you claim to be a follower of Christ, then your actions should reflect that. How you handle things should reflect that. You should not handle things the way the world handles it. You should handle things the way the Lord would handle it. And the only way you're going to know that is if you are in the Word and you know who He is. So again, I thank you so much for joining me again today for a Selah moment. And again, I'm going to be calling it that every time now because that is the new title for this channel. I'm so excited about it. I don't know why. It's a great name, but the Lord is good. Now, may He bless you. May the Lord protect you. May His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you His favor and give you His peace. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I will see you next time. God bless.